Today we have Adam Maurer, who's an LPC LMFT here in Austin, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Adam. I am the founder and the only person at moontowercounseling.com. I have been in practice now for 13 years, which is wild because I look so young. Thank you. And, the majority of people I help, I'm working with the queer community. I'm working with people who are in relationships that are around negotiated non-monogamy and a lot of sex positivity, specifically kink. So that's what your girl is into and is all about.
Very cool. Adam, thank you for joining me today. And I was hoping to be able to talk about sexting because I know that you have blogged about this in the past. It's something that comes up with clients. So, what inspired you to write about sexting and relationships, and what do you hope that readers take away from it?
Yeah. For me, oftentimes when we think about sex, it's this very limited definition, right? So a lot of times people will be P in the vag and orgasm. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much more to sex than just that. And so one thing I ask people who are in monogamous situations, William, is what is anything that you would be uncomfortable with your partner doing with someone else? Because that is all sex. So that could be slow dancing, that could be a massage, that could be sexting. And so I really love sexting in particular because it allows us to engage our imagination in a safer way for exploration. So, sometimes people come to my office because they tried kink without any knowledge or any any kind of wonder, and it goes awry, it goes real bad, and I help them deal with the damage of that. But one of the nice things about sexting is you can explore your fantasies in the safer way because you're not physically doing things, you're just exploring and thinking out loud. And if you set that up within context of your relationship, it can lead to going, oh, I'm fantasizing about this. Is that something I want to explore in real life? And maybe I do, and maybe I don't. And that's okay too. Like, I think it gives people permission to kind of discover parts of themselves that maybe they haven't seen in a minute or sometimes ever. So I love sexting too because it also allows for us to have this moment of thinking about what do I turn myself on for? So I have a whole workshop called How to Take Nudes in a God Honoring Way because she is a Christian woman. Just kidding. The God is you. So how do you create erotic art in a way that makes sense to you, that honors who you are? And really that comes down to going, what would feel pleasurable to me in this moment? How do I want to see myself? So it's not even about like, what do I think my partner wants to see? It's more like, how do I feel sexy? And then how do I invite them to see that? So in that experience, you could take pictures and video and use audio with sexting and just even just the written word. So you have all these tools to create this like really fun connecting experience with someone.
So, I guess continuing on that, how do you
Mhm.
define healthy sexting, and what boundaries should couples set to keep it safe?
Yeah. I think for any time you're exploring anything new in sexuality, I'm a big fan of the stoplight system. So green, I like it harder, stronger, faster, deeper, more of it. Yellow, slow down and check in with me and adapt. So let's say we're sexting and I send something and like, oh, and I send maybe an expletive and are not a fan of this expletive. If you say yellow, I know like, oh, cool, check in. Hey, actually, can you chill on that language? Can it be more uplifting than degrading? Because that's kind of the mood I'm in. And my job's going to be then, as the person who sent that message, to greet that request with gratitude. Hey, thank you for letting me know because I always want you to feel respected and safe in whatever we do. And then you just shift gears.
Nice.
And then red means we have to stop and move to aftercare. So you try something new in sexting, it is not well received. If your partner says red, cool. What do we want to do after we sext that brings us back to our everyday? So, I'm very gay, so I might like watch an episode of The Golden Girls and eat some ice cream with the partner. I don't know what you straight people do. I guess watch Friends. I don't know. But yeah, I think in that too, having a system of communication in real time makes it easier, and the okayness to go, we know what we can do to come back together after we explore. So it doesn't throw our whole system off. Instead, there's the safety of like we can come back and talk about what did we learn in this experience. And kind of looking at it, if you're new to sexting or newer to sexting, look at it like a sexy little science experiment. So in science, we don't judge the data, we just take in the data with curiosity. Now, I'm a therapist, almost sprinkle, can we put some kindness on that too? But when we start to do that, it's like, oh, I really liked this part of our sexting. This is what was exciting to me.
Yeah.
And this part, maybe I could take or leave, wasn't for me so much. And that just allows for it to be more and more pleasing to everyone involved.
So, are there particular psychological or emotional benefits that sexting can bring to a relationship?
Yeah, I think about like specifically emotional intimacy for a lot of people. Um, there's a lot in our sexuality we've been told to hide, we've been told to fragment. Sometimes we don't even realize that we have done that. And the opportunity to have this arena where you can just come and be seen as like your full self in your sexuality, having someone see that and celebrate that with you, it can be really powerful and bonding. And if anything comes up that feels challenging in that, again, greeting that with curiosity and kindness. And that can make it easier to unpack without it feeling personal.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's not for you. It is for me though. Oh, well, what makes it for you? Why do you turn yourself on for that behavior so much? And it's just being seen, really, right? So it's not even like you have to do all the behaviors with someone. It is like, oh, do you see me? And is it okay for me to just exist as I am?
And in some ways, when you talk about this, Adam, one thing that comes up is just that reminder of sexuality isn't something that's like set. It's, very dynamic. It's not
Mhm.
static of where somebody enters a relationship, that's where it is 20 years later, and trying to be open to how those different things can change. And I guess as part of that, I guess the question that I would have for you is what risk do you see for couples who engage in sexting and they don't have clear boundaries around it?
Yeah. So you might receive a message when you're not ready for that and you're not excited to receive it. So, right, like let's say you have kids and you're out there parenting it out and you get a message that you're not ready for, that could be really jarring. It could be really challenging in moment,
Mhm.
especially if someone is less comfortable with their own sexuality, because then it's like, oh gosh, now I'm like in parent mode and this is happening and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So being really clear about like boundaries and expectations around sexting can be helpful. And things I like, one, take it to a channel that isn't like your regular everyday life. So one, it's not too sexy to be like, hey, did you remember milk and show me those big titties? Like that usually is not the vibe.
So
So
there
if we
should be
can,
some privacy to that chat channel, is what I
it
hear.
can,
Whether that's
it
like
can,
Signal or something that disappears
yeah,
or whatever it is. Yeah.
it can make it way easier. And setting to the precedent that like for sexting, I like the idea that, hey, when I feel aroused, I will share with you with the understanding that you may not be able to engage right away.
Yeah.
And so you can look at it when you're feeling like excited to witness that.
So what are some different tools that you see your clients using for that outside of like texting on their normal phone? Is it things like Signal? What else do you see them using?
Yeah, Snapchat is like really popular. I see a lot of WhatsApp because I know a lot of international hosts. And so and really, I mean, the more high-end folks, they'll make a little production, right? I mean, there's so much on our phones now that you could edit video and pictures. And I've seen partners, I've heard about clients being able to go, oh, I'm going to make something that's going to really highlight what I'm feeling right now, what it means to be in my sexuality. So there's a number of ways that you can do it. You're really only limited by your own imagination.
Very nice. So how do you advise clients to navigate sexting if they have different levels of comfort around it?
Yeah. So anytime someone's like uncomfortable with the sexual practice, I usually like to start there. Like to go, cool, what's the story you're telling yourself? Because there could be a lot of things underneath of it, right? Sometimes it is some of the remnants of things that were taught to us.
Mhm.
I know it's hard to believe. I was a Bible Bowl champion, Williamsburg Christian Church, 1996, baby. And so I see a lot of clients who have religious stigma still, even if they're not still connected to that religion. And so they're like, well, I want to be liberated, but here's all these like past messages, and I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it is just listening to them and helping them by thinking through, like, what do you wish a kind, caring adult would have said instead? And kind of helping them parent those parts of themselves, reparent or coach those parts of themselves. Sometimes it could be because, some people are just less interested in sex in general.
Yeah.
And so typically in a relationship, a partner will complement a partner. So one person's probably going to want sex more or have more easy access to their arousal, and the other one may not be at that same level. That's okay. Then how do we then collaborate in a way that's like, hey, I don't want you to dishonor yourself by sexting when you don't want to. And could you be a witness of me just expressing my own sexuality and affirming it for me?
Yeah.
So if someone's not down to like get into the creative writing elements of it or doesn't feel comfortable taking pictures of themselves or video of themselves or any of that, they can still be affirming.
Because
So
I mean, part of what I hear you saying, it's ultimately it's a bid for connection, right? It's trying to
mhm,
express the desire and connect with somebody. And I guess a question that comes to mind within that is like, how do you see this playing out? Is this more common with your clients? Is this for clients that are in town, that are long distance? Like, what is the kind of mixture of that, and how does it ultimately strengthen relationships?
yeah, I actually see it across the board. Because like one way is we are uh, in a system that has increasingly become busier and busier for people. And one of like the main things you hear as a sex therapist is, oh, we don't have time for sex. And so there's times where people are living in the same household and sexting because, hey, we're trying to like get the kids to like soccer practice and get to the grocery store and do our 9 to 5. And I had this moment where I was feeling turned on and I still want to feel connected to you erotically. I want that to be a strength in our relationship. And so you could sleep next to that person and still sex with them. And then, long distance, um, it is since the internet, it's been a thing. And I think it's just another way that we can feel all of our sexuality. What I like about sometimes limitations in the things we experience is that it invites us to get more creative.
Yeah.
So, okay, I can't physically touch you because you're so far away. How could I touch you emotionally? How could I touch you mentally? How could I feel that connection with you in a way that feels meaningful to the dynamic that we have? And that in itself can feel really good, right? Like imagine receiving a sext from someone where it's like, "Oh, you really are showing me your full self and you're showing me how much you consider me."
Very
It's
nice.
gonna, yeah, it's gonna feel really lovely.
Are there certain communication skills that you provide to clients to talk openly about sexting? Are there any additional resources that you suggest for people to look at online? Because I can imagine that everybody's going to look at this in different ways. I mean, there's some people where
Mhm.
this is totally like new or like,
Never, yeah.
yeah, or they're really busy. It is hard to figure out like how that everybody's life and sex life is very different. So I'm just curious, like what resources or communication skills that you bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of sexting invites us to get more comfortable with our own selves, right? Like how often people tell me, I don't like seeing myself in a picture. I don't like the sound of my voice. Why would I want to send like a voice note like I sound, you know, X, Y, and Z? And a lot of times people hit those moments, and in therapy, what we're doing is going like, how do you embrace all of yourself? How do you love the sound of your voice? Not that you have to like throw a party every day in your body. Can we be neutral about our body? Like, and then in that too, how do we add things to our experience that help our body feel loved, cared for, precious? So am I wearing something that feels really good on my body? Am I creating lighting in a mood that feels good? Am I listening to music that makes me feel good in my body? So oftentimes it comes down to inviting people to go, how do I have more radical self-love? How do I see myself as worthy of pleasure? Um, and then practice, right? Like talking dirty. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And so they try, and it comes off really challenging. There's a podcast here from UT called Sexting History, where they look at like sex throughout history, and they talked about specifically phone sex in the 80s. And they were interviewing this woman who had been a phone sex operator, and her first day she got clocked, Billy,
Mhm.
because the guy was like, "Yeah, I could tell it was your first day because you kept saying T-Wat," because she never had said twat out loud. She had read the word, but she had never spoken it. And so, when you don't know how to feel comfortable expressing that level of like passion or pleasure, it's gonna feel foreign. It's gonna be like taking a Spanish 101 class for a lot of people who are not Spanish speakers. You're gonna be like, I don't know how to do this, and it feels awkward and weird, and it's getting comfortable with that own part of yourself.
So I
It's
guess
okay for you to be a being. Yeah.
I guess the one other thing that I would say within that, it's like, I guess addressing the various forms that sexting can be, from a text
Mhm.
message to a voice memo to potentially a photo or whatever. Can you talk
Mhm.
more about that, about the different forms and mediums and ways that that comes across, or is people are doing that?
Yeah. I mean, really, you can do again anything that you want with the person and this scene. So you could create something where, let's say throughout the day, you create like a three story arc. So it's like, oh, here's me in the morning thinking about you and excited. Here's me in the afternoon working, and it's like a little sexy pic, but I'm still thinking about you. Here's me in the evening waiting for you to come home. So you can like build that like sexual tension in this like really fun way. And that again could be like music choices. Like I use an app called Prequel to do some photo editing and video editing, and it'll allow you to like add music onto that. And so it's like, oh, I can like put this little sexy song, put my little self in it, like create a whole mood, a whole vibe. Um, your voice, there's so many things you can do with your voice to turn someone on. So just letting them know that you think about them and why they matter to you, right? Like for my emotional girlies, that can feel really arousing. Talking about like longing and like that idea of why you feel so connected to their body. Like there's so many things that could come from that. And again, it's really up to the individual who wants to express themselves. When it comes to sexting, we have videos, audio, pictures, the written word. These are all the tools. The person that I want to connect with, they're kind of my muse, right? They're going to inspire me. I'm going to be the artist, so it's going to come from my being, and then what I create, and that is the art. And
And
they get to be an art lover.
I think about one of the things that you've said, Adam, in the past, where you were talking about, like, for, like, let's say a trans person thinking about their like expression of who they are to different people in their family or what have you,
Mhm.
and the choices within that and the gradient of choice. And so it makes me think of that same thing where it comes true for sexuality too. So somebody that's maybe more spiritual may have a very different expression of that than somebody that's more like kink friendly, right?
Yes. And I think in that too, the okayness of all of it, right? Sometimes when we talk about sex positivity, it feels like everything has to be kink.com.dungeon like Beastmaster, which is fine. I'm not here to yuck that. And kink is often soft and silly and light, right? Like it could just be being pied in the face. Some people would find that so lovely and delicious. So there's a gajillion things it can be. And oftentimes, because we don't teach people about the expansive nature of kink, it gets, pretty much limited in the idea of what this means. Oh, you just want me to like wear all black and like be in pain. Not necessarily, right? I might want you to be in the greatest pleasure you ever had. I might want you to show off like what feels sexy to you. So in it, it could be really uplifting and lovely and light. It can be really silly.
Yeah, I think it's important to think of that gradient and how it holds true for every person because it may be so different. How can couples recover or repair trust if sexting leads to a breach or misunderstanding?
That's a great question. So one, I like to think of a breach as being on its own scale, right? So there is like egregious, like a violation, and there's like oopses and ouches. And so let's say, you know, something that's probably gonna be common in sexting is you send a picture of yourself to someone and maybe they show it to like their friend because they're like having a beer and they're like, look how hot my wife is. And you find out and you're like, that feels really uncomfortable to me. So, like any time that there would be harm done, the thing you're gonna do is like one, listen to the person who's hurt. Two, you're going to be really curious about like your part in their pain and how that relates to past pain they may have, sometimes from their family system, sometimes from larger systems like sexism, racism, all those things. Three, you're going to take your part. So you're going to own the mistake. And then four, you're going to collaborate with them to have amends. What do we want to do in the future? What's going to help this feel better now? And that whole process can actually help people feel like even more deeply connected.